You've probably told someone about a goal before. Maybe you mentioned that you were going to start working out, learn a new skill, finish a project, or make a change in your life. And when you said it out loud, it felt good. It felt real. Like declaring it made it more likely to happen. But then weeks or months passed, and you didn't follow through. The goal just faded. And you couldn't figure out why talking about it, which felt so motivating at the time, didn't actually help you do it. This isn't about lacking commitment or being all talk. It's about a psychological process that most people don't realize is happening. When you share a goal with someone, your brain experiences something that feels like progress. And that feeling can actually reduce your motivation to do the work required to achieve the goal itself. Most people believe that announcing a goal creates accountability. If you tell someone what you're going to do, you'll feel pressure to follow through. And sometimes that's true. But there's another side to it that gets overlooked. Sharing a goal can satisfy some of the same psychological needs that achieving the goal would. And when those needs are satisfied prematurely, the drive to act weakens. Research into goal setting and identity shows that when you talk about an intention, your brain treats it as a form of progress. You've articulated the goal, you've thought it through, you've made it public. That process creates a sense of identity alignment. You start to see yourself as the kind of person who has that goal. And that sense of identity can feel rewarding on its own, even before you've done anything concrete. Let's say you tell a friend that you're going to write a book. Just saying it out loud makes you feel like a writer. The identity is activated. You get a small hit of validation when your friend responds positively or encourages you. And your brain registers that validation as a form of completion. Not full completion, but enough to dull the urgency to actually start writing. Or think about someone who announces on social media that they're starting a fitness routine. They post about their intention, people like it, people comment with support. That social feedback feels good. It makes them feel seen and validated. But the validation came from the announcement, not from the effort. And because it did, the internal drive to follow through decreases. They've already received some of the reward they were seeking. This is where the uncomfortable part comes in. The more you talk about a goal, the more your brain can mistake the talking for the doing. It's not a conscious decision. It's a cognitive shortcut. Your brain is trying to conserve energy. If it can get some of the reward without the effort, it will. And talking about goals provides reward without requiring the sustained, difficult work that actual achievement demands. Studies on behavioral intention show that there's a gap between what people say they'll do and what they actually do. Part of that gap exists because articulating an intention activates neural pathways associated with goal completion. Your brain doesn't fully distinguish between planning to do something and doing it. Both create a sense of forward movement. But only one produces actual results. There's also the issue of social validation. When you share a goal, people often respond with praise or encouragement. That response feels good. It reinforces the idea that you're moving in the right direction. But the praise is for the intention, not the action. And because your brain craves that kind of social approval, it can become more focused on maintaining the image of someone pursuing the goal than on actually pursuing it. Research into social perception and self-presentation suggests that people are motivated to be seen in certain ways. When you announce a goal, you're signaling something about your values, your ambitions, your identity. And if the people around you respond positively, you've already achieved part of what you wanted, which was to be perceived as that kind of person. The actual accomplishment becomes less necessary for maintaining that perception, at least in the short term. Here's the thing that makes this so tricky. Talking about goals doesn't always undermine them. For some people, in some situations, it does create accountability. But it's not universal. And for many people, especially those who are already prone to overthinking or who seek external validation, talking about a goal can become a substitute for working toward it. The thought provides just enough satisfaction to reduce the internal tension that would otherwise drive action. This doesn't mean you should never share your goals or that announcing something always makes it harder. It just means that the relationship between talking and doing is more complicated than it seems. The act of sharing can feel productive, but it's not the same as being productive. And when your brain conflates the two, motivation drops. There's also the problem of premature commitment. When you tell someone about a goal, you've made a statement about your future behavior. But future behavior is uncertain. You don't know yet if you'll have the time, the energy, or the sustained interest to follow through. And once you've publicly committed, the gap between what you said and what you're actually doing becomes visible. That visibility can create anxiety or shame, which further reduces motivation instead of increasing it. Studies on goal pursuit suggest that people are more likely to follow through on goals when the focus is on process rather than declaration. The act of doing something repeatedly builds momentum. But the act of talking about it doesn't. Talking creates an illusion of momentum without the underlying structure that makes sustained effort possible. The real issue is that sharing a goal can hijack the reward system that's supposed to motivate you to achieve it. You get a taste of the recognition, the validation, the identity shift. And that taste, while small, is enough to take the edge off the need to actually do the work. You've already told yourself and others that you're the kind of person who has this goal. And in some quiet way, that feels like enough. So if you've ever wondered why you didn't follow through on something you were excited enough to talk about, this is probably why. It's not that you weren't serious or that you didn't care. It's that talking about it gave your brain some of what it was looking for. And once it got that, the urgency to act diminished. Not completely, but enough to make starting harder and quitting easier.